So if you look at the attribute of a leader, it is all about a vision. Effective leaders know what they want to do, how they want to do it to some extent. They have the strength and the character to pursue their dream in the face of opposition. And in spite of failures, they have to get it done. The effective leaders establishes achievable goals, manageable goals. It is one thing to have wild dream, is another thing to have a dream that can be translated with the help of a team to build confidence. Passion is a very important attribute of a leader. Effective leaders believe passionately in their goals. They have positive outlook as to who they are, and they love what they are and what they do. Their passion for life is the guiding principle for others to follow, because they essentially radiate hope, promise, enthusiasm, energy. Real leader is the one when people come to meet, they get all charged up. And I call that contagious enthusiasm. You have to constantly build people. Part of the leadership challenge is to build people around you to do things that they sometimes believe cannot be done. The leader has to, along with passion, be honest, and they have to convey their honesty in both their professional lives and their personal lives. Everyone who meets the leader must come out and say, no, this person is honest. I can trust. Effective leaders generate trust in their followers. And they act on behalf of their followers. Their followers know that my leader will guard my interest, will support me, will guide me. That trust between leaders and followers is very important. But that requires integrity. Because people working for you know who you are, how effective you are. They are also aware of your strength as well as your weakness. They will only make promises that they can follow. And leaders also must make promises that leader can follow. If you don't follow on your promise, your effectiveness will go down, trust will get eroded, and your integrity would be questioned. In this process, leader has to take risk. Nothing happens without risk. If there is no risk, there are no rewards. But you have to take calculated risk. How do you calculate risk? You have to systematically lay out worst case scenario. You have to play it out in terms of if this happens, if that happens. Through this scenario, you calculate risk. If weather is bad, somebody gets injured, somebody dies from your team, what happens? Somebody steals your idea. Somebody makes mistakes. There is a fire. You run out of money. These are all the risks that you need to constantly monitor, manage. In the process, you have to be very curious. You have to be a lifelong learner, because leaders must respond to change. You must know what you need to know in order to pursue your goals. All of these things sound pretty straightforward, simple. But when you look at totality of it, things get very complicated. Leaders also need dedication. Leadership is not a part-time job. You cannot say, I'll be leaders 2 hours a day. Leadership is dedication. Effective leader is dedicated to his or her mission. They work on that mission on behalf of the entire team and give their best in terms of time, attention, energy to make it happen. You cannot say on one hand that I'm a part-time leader, on the other hand, I have only 3 qualities of a leader and don't have another 10. Not that everyone has every quality, but you have to be conscious of it. You have to recognize the gaps in your leadership quality. And you got to bring in people who fulfill and meet those gaps. If you're not a good communicator, you got to recognize that. If you're very weak technically, you have to recognize that. If you're not good at numbers and you need someone from the financial team to be on your right all the time, you got to recognize that. It is all about soul searching all the time. It is all about analyzing your ecosystem all the time. And it's all about learning all the time. Leaders also have to be charismatic. This is very difficult to cultivate because it requires certain level of maturity, respect for everybody in your team, compassion, and a little bit of sense of humor. You can't get too serious about everything. You got to have sense of humor. You need ability to laugh at yourself. I find that there are very few people who can laugh at themselves. And ultimately, it's all about people. So you got to love humanity. You got to love people around you. You have to genuinely love them. You can't fake it. Because if you fake it, people will figure that out. Because leaders have to have the ability to motivate people to excel, to bring best in them. In the process, leaders have to learn to listen. To me, very few people know how to listen. I go into many meetings and people just talk. Ability to listen is very critical. It is not about listening to yourself. It is about listening to others. I've seen leaders, when somebody goes to meet them, their mind is wandering. They are not interested in listening. They wind up doing some other things in the middle. And the person who has come to meet the leader feels rejected they find that leader didn't give them, him or her, the time they deserve. Leader didn't listen properly, didn't pay attention to their challenges. And then they get turned off and they feel that they can't be a part of his or her team. So we have talked about lots of interesting qualities of leaders.